Hopefully he'll get you in the future. I don't know if you want Tom on your jury, but we'll find out. Anyway, so folks, as I mentioned, we do have the Democrat Lieutenant Governor candidate, one of the Democrat Lieutenant Governor candidates, Jimmy Tingle, joining us now. Good morning, Jimmy. How are you, my friend?
Good morning, Chris. How are you?
I'm doing well. Listen, first of all, I want to reach out to you from my audience and everyone here at the station to say we're sorry for the passing of your mother.
Thank you so much. I really appreciate it, Chris. She was a great woman, and she left us lots of good memories and a beautiful power of example in terms of how to live, in terms of a community service to church and friends and relatives and community. So we really appreciate your kind words. Thank you.
Thanks, and I appreciate you being able to make this call. Of course, Jimmy's suspended his campaign mostly till after the services, but he is doing us a favor here by calling us from his house. And of course, Jimmy, you have deep roots here in the greater New Bedford area. Why don't you tell the folks a little bit about how you got started down here in the greater New Bedford area?
Sure. Well, I was fortunate enough to be accepted to Southeastern Massachusetts University, now UMass Dartmouth, and I went there from 1973 to 1977, and I must say the great thing was it was a really, really good education at a very, very affordable cost. It was under $500 a semester, and we just got super professors, and the state at that time was investing heavily in public education, as was the federal government. So it was affordable, it was good, it was high quality, and I was just very, very lucky to have been accepted to the school and to actually have attended. And of course, you know the joke when you told people back in the 70s and 80s, where'd you go to college? SMU. They say Southern Methodist. I said no, Southeastern Massachusetts University.
So first time I ever saw you as a comedian was there. I was in high school. My parents let me go, but to see you. Both my parents, who have passed away, were tremendous fans of yours. Particularly when you were on 60 Minutes. You know, 60 Minutes 2. We never missed an episode in my house. At least my parents didn't. Jimmy, talk about a little bit about your acting in your comedy career.
Sure. When I graduated from SMU, UMass Dartmouth, back in the 80s, I mean late in 77, I started doing open mic nights, comedy, in 1980 in the Boston area, the comedy scene that just got started at the Comedy Connection and the Ding Ho and all places like that. And we started off with Dennis Leary and Paula Poundstone and Lenny Clark and Barry Cremens and a bunch of people, Stephen Wright, who went on to really national prominence in terms of stand-up comedy. And I just started performing. I loved it, and I did it like 7 years. I moved to New York City. I got on the Tonight Show in '88 with Johnny Carson, and I just stuck with it and did it up until I did 60 Minutes 2 in 2000, MSNBC. I was a commentator on that. And I just did social and political humor primarily and made a wonderful living doing it. I did UMass Dartmouth a couple of times. Actually, I'm going to be back there on October 20th. They're doing a homecoming and a football game, and I'm performing in one of the theaters there after the football game on Saturday, October 20th. So I'm looking forward to getting back in front of the alumni there and students and parents, etc. But it's been a wonderful career, and I just felt that. And I also went back to school 7 years ago. I went to the Kennedy School of Government because after doing something for 30 years, 35 years, I just felt, honestly, I could do more. And when you do social and political humor, the whole thing, the whole trick, the whole key to its success is knowing what you're talking about. So you have to drill down on the issues just to be a really good humorist, like Jon Stewart or Stephen Colbert or any of the people who do that, or the gentleman on HBO, his name's escaping me now.
Bill Maher?
No, Bill Maher or the other.
Well, what about Mark Twain? What about Mark Twain?
Mark Twain, exactly. Mark Twain. I mean, you have to know the issues to do it insightfully, and this is where SMU came in, or UMass Dartmouth came in. I took sociology, I took political science, I took history courses there. I took courses at that time that enlightened me at 17, 18, 19, 20 years old that I was able to ultimately apply to a profession of stand-up comedy and social and political satire that I never dreamed at 21 years old I would ever really be using. I didn't know. You don't know what you're going to really do at 30 years later after graduating from college. So the lessons and the insights and the education that I received at that school at a very reasonable price came in to work to my advantage in a huge way moving forward 25, 30 years. So anyway, and so that's how the career unfolded. I ended up on 60 Minutes and a few things, but in 2016, I felt, in 2010, I just wanted to go back to school. I wanted to see if I could use my skills as an entertainer for purposes beyond just entertainment. And I applied to the Kennedy School of Government at Harvard. Friends that knew me said, Jimmy, you've done a lot of things in the community. You've been doing fundraisers and things like this for many, many years. I think they would be interested in an applicant like you. And I couldn't believe people were encouraging me to go to Harvard. I said, look, I've been a comedian for 30 years. I don't know if they're going to take a commentator and comedian, but they did. And I went and got a master's degree in public administration there. Was actually the commencement speaker in 2010. And I just did that, and I felt like I wasn't ready to jump into politics at that time. But after the 2016 election, I felt that if Donald Trump was able to use his communication skills for his message, then I think that I could help use my communication skills for the message of the Democratic Party. So I decided to get more involved. I started thinking about it. I started doing events with Barney Frank around the state for Hillary Clinton. And I asked Barney after the last one, I said, Barney, do you think it's too late for me to get into politics? He said, no, not at all. He said, what are you thinking about running for? I said, I'm thinking about running for lieutenant governor. And he said, that's the exact right position I think you should run for. It's obviously statewide. You could work as a liaison to the cities and towns, and you could work as a liaison on behalf of the governor's agenda with the legislature. And Barney Frank has become our honorary chairperson of our campaign. So that's how it really unfolded. And last September I announced, and we've been going hard ever since.
We're speaking with Jimmy Tingle, who is a candidate for lieutenant governor as a Democrat. If you want to learn more about him, it's jimmytingle4mass.com. It's the number 4. It's jimmytingle4mass.com. You can find out more information about him or get involved in his campaign. Jimmy, I know one of the things that's very important to you is substance abuse is part of your agenda and part of your mission in life, I would say. Talk to the folks a little bit about that.
Sure. Well, one of the reasons Barney, got involved with the campaign, and I got the support of people like Tommy O'Neill and Sheriff Katusian and Suzanne Bump and people like Congressman Jim McGovern. They know that I know that government matters, and they know that I know that government can change people's lives, and at times government can actually save people's lives. During the 1980s, when I was doing comedy, I lost 3 friends to alcohol and drugs, and I personally was going downhill in a big way because of those substances. And I started calling places for help, detoxes, rehabs, hospitals, treatment centers, and I would often get the runaround. There's no beds. There's long lines. Call back next week. You don't have insurance. I called the Cambridge City Hospital, and I said to the man who answered the phone, I really need help. And his answer was so profound. 30 years later, I remember it as if it was yesterday. He said, you called the right place. I went into that hospital December 1987. I stayed 7 days through Christmas 1987. I got out. I moved to New York City. I focused on stand-up comedy and recovery. That's all I did for a year. A year later, to the week, I went on The Tonight Show with Johnny Carson. So, and the other guest that night was Bob Hope. So from that experience, I took two profound lessons. Number one, I believe in God. Number two, I believe in the power of government to change people's lives. Everything I have in my life, everything, my wife, my son, my career, my education, my relationship with people like yourself, Chris, and your audience, and the voters and the people of Massachusetts, everything is directly attributable to that man's response when I reached out for help in December of 1987. And I'm running for lieutenant governor at the height of this opioid crisis in this city, this state, and this country, in large measure to hopefully ensure that when anybody in the state of Massachusetts picks up the phone and reaches out for help, the answer on the other end always will be, you called the right place. That's largely why I'm doing this.
Jimmy, I know you have a busy schedule today. But I just wanted to let you get a pitch in here. It's September 4th is the primary. A lot of people listening to us will be voting in that Democrat primary. Give them your pitch.
I just would love your support. I'm a lifelong Massachusetts resident, UMass Dartmouth, Kennedy School of Government at Harvard, Cambridge Public Schools. I have lived in the state all of my adult life except for a brief period in New York City and a brief period in Los Angeles. I know Massachusetts. I love the people. I connect with them when I speak on stage, and I think I would be a passionate advocate for the people of Massachusetts, not only for the Democratic Party, but for the people of this state, regardless of party affiliation. I just think I would do a really good job. I love people, and I love communicating with them, and my goal would be to communicate the values of the Democratic Party to the people who already agree with us, the people we've lost, and as importantly, if not more importantly, the people who've been left behind. And the message of the Democratic Party is that government matters, and the government can change people's lives, and government can save people's lives, whether it's public transportation, substance abuse, public education, higher education, rehabs, treatment centers. These are the things that matter to everyday people and everyday lives, and I would be a passionate advocate on behalf of those issues.
Hey, thank you again, Jimmy, so much for joining us at this tough time in your life. And again, our thoughts and prayers go out to you and your family for the loss of your mother.
Thank you so much. And my mother was all Italian, and the immigrant story was in her life when her family came here from Italy 100 years ago, and 100 years later, it's being repeated as we speak. And I would be a huge advocate and a passionate advocate for immigration reform in this state as well. Thank you.
Thanks a lot, Jimmy. And listen, we'll look forward to seeing you October 20th?
October 20th.
At UMass Dartmouth.
UMass Dartmouth. Thank you so much.
All right, my friend. Good luck. Thank you so much. Thanks, Jimmy. All right. That was Jimmy Tingle. Again, it's Jimmy4Mass.com. And I forgot to ask him the question Phil wanted me to ask him.
What question was that?
Is he related to the astronaut named Tingle?
Oh, yeah.
This is why you got to write things down.
Yeah. That's a critically important question.
I literally forgot it up until the moment I put him off the phone. Oh. Anyway, I have to take a quick break, flog myself for messing up. Phil gives me one thing. Just ask me one thing. Phil, I've asked Phil a million things. He's done every one of them. I forget the one thing he asks me. Well, I'm useless. Anyway, folks, we'll take a quick break. I'll get back to zero. We'll figure this out. And I'm sorry, Phil, that I let you down. Because anyway, all right, we'll take a quick break. We'll be right back here on 1420 WBSM.